Hey there, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's the podcast where we dig into ideas and insights that help you to unleash what you were born to bring. I get to chat with heart-led experts and ask the questions that I know you're thinking about and explore conversations that will spark growth, shift perspectives, and help you to show up fully in your life. And today, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic. So, you want to write a book? This conversation is worth your while because stories are how we make sense of the world and how we truly connect with one another. And yet, many people never stop to realize that their own story has been. Writing a book is way more than just putting words on a page. It's a process that deepens your understanding of yourself, of your work, of your purpose, and the impact that you want to have. And once that story exists as a book, it allows you to reach and help far more people than you ever could one-on-one. I'm your host, Linda Bucher, and if the life you are living no longer fits, this space is for you. Because through this podcast and my coaching, I guide you to shed what no longer fits and to reconnect with your gifts, bring your life into alignment with who you are and what you want. And if that sparks something within you, you can find me at lindabucher.com. Once again, our topic of today's conversation is, so you want to write a book? And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Dr. Anna Bartolucci of Psych Up Academy, who is making positive ripples and unleashing her gifts in the world in a very unique way. Anna is a writing mentor who helps heart-centered people finally write the book that they've been thinking about for years. Combining psychology, creativity, and compassion, she helps them to get out of their own way and move from the spark of an idea to a completed first draft. So, Dr. Anna Bartolucci, thank you so much for being on Conversations Worth Your While today.
Hi, Linda. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so would you please tell us a little bit more about who you serve and what you're doing to make these beautiful ripples?
Yes, thank you. I serve heart-centered entrepreneurs, as you said, and the ones that I really love helping know that they have a message, and they are bringing this message out through their work, but they know that they could make a bigger impact if they have a book. And so I bring in my background of, almost not almost 2 decades now of being a psychologist. We lose track of times. The 90s were 10 years ago. Nobody can convince me otherwise.
I know.
And so 2 decades of being a clinical psychologist and also a USA Today bestselling author of fiction. I also have written 2 nonfiction. And so I bring that spark and that magic of fiction into the nonfiction writing process to help make it fun and exciting and to help people connect with their readers on a different level.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's so much more unique than a lot of other writing coaches because you have this psychology background. Because, like I'm in the business of helping people get out of their own way. That's definitely what I'm in the business of doing. But normally if someone were writing a book, they might have someone, their client work with me as a coach to get rid of the writer's block and the who am I to do this big thing and the imposter syndrome and all those things. So the fact that you have this all contained is so beautiful to really help people to get their stories out in the world. So let's start with talking about reasons for writing a book. I wrote a book back in, 2013 or 14, I'm going to say. And I am a talker, hence I have a podcast and not a blog because I had a blog and it felt like pulling teeth, hated the writing because I kind of like real time channel what's coming out of my mouth and it does not go to my fingers. It just comes to my mouth. And so, I didn't want to write a book, which is interesting. So you might get some of these people that are like, what? I don't want to write a book. I'm not writing a book. To me, it was more because it didn't seem like it was my best outlet. But maybe I'll share in a minute after after I let you talk, about how I overcame it. So, but I didn't want to write a book. I just wanted to talk. So what are
Hmm.
some reasons that people have for wanting to write a book?
Well, as you mentioned, it's it's hard to get your message out there when you are just helping people one-on-one. And yes, a podcast is a great way to do that. But people also want to read. And audiobooks are also a very powerful medium. But one of the main reasons that people want to write a book is to help establish themselves as an expert because it is competitive out there. And you are way more likely to be able to get on podcasts and on stages as a speaker if you have a book. People, and then sometimes people want to write book to make money, and let's put that one aside. It helps you to make money in more indirect ways than through direct book sales. It's also a personal development exercise. Like I'm sure as you found, as you were writing a book, you end up connecting with your message on a deeper level. And therefore, you end up connecting with yourself and your purpose on a deeper level. And so that's my ideal uh, mentee is somebody who says, yes, I want to write a book because I have an important message. I have an important story. And we're not talking about memoir. We're talking about weaving your story into your message. And I also want to grow and learn about myself through this, which maybe that's the psychologist part coming in.
Yeah, I don't think people are aware that that actually happens, and it
I
absolutely.
know.
I was, God, I gotta remember what chapter it was, but I would go to the library to write because my son at the time was being tutored for the SATs, and we would meet the tutor at the library. So, we're there for an hour. So I'm like, well, I can get some writing done because I did commit to writing for 30 minutes a day, minimum 6 days a week. That was my commitment to myself. So there I was at the library, and I was writing about a chapter about mindset. And I sat down. It's a library, it's quiet. I sat down, I had my laptop. I'm like, da, 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 I'm on a roll, I'm on a roll. And then these two librarians who started putting books away, and they were getting chatty and they were getting noisy, and I couldn't concentrate. And I remember being like really, but I didn't want to be rude, so I didn't want to say anything. I was like, really?
Oh, come on. You
I,
didn't shush the librarians? That
I
was
did
such a
not.
golden
I mean,
opportunity.
right? Like what an opportunity. Shush the librarians. No, I did not. And so I got up, but I got up with a lot of nonverbal huffiness, like, oh, really? But like, and I went somewhere else, and I went into where this couch was, and it like swallowed me. This couch had to be like 30 years old, swallowed me. I'm on my laptop, like typing like a on my laptop. And I'm getting back in the groove, and now they're moving their cart and they're back near where I am again, and they're still chatting. I'm like, oh my God. So what was really interesting is it brought up the part that I needed to put in the book really was about when circumstances are outside of your control and you're thinking they have to change in order for you to be able to do the thing you're supposed to be doing or you want to be doing. Right. So I was like, oh, well, this is like a nice little opportunity for me to realize what's actually happening. I'm blaming them. I'm saying I can't do this because they are doing that. Right. So like it just brought that right there, front and center. So sometimes, the process, very often the process in itself teaches you about what's really going on inside me. So I love that you are bringing this up as one of the most giant benefits of writing a book is for yourself.
Absolutely. And I have a magical bent, shall we say? And yeah, I firmly believe that when we embark on these projects, the universe gives us these opportunities to learn on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a beautiful example. And I'm still disappointed you didn't shush the librarians because you would
I,
be.
I know, it's funny. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the obstacles and yeah buts to even starting to write a book. What like because I'll start with mine. Um, I don't like to write. Like who was it? I think someone a very famous writer said, I hate writing, but I love having written.
Mhm,
And I'm like, I hate writing. I'm a good writer. I'm a very good writer, but it slows me down. And
mhm.
that was my excuse. It slows me down. I just need to be talking. It slows me down. So that was
Mhm.
my yeah but. What kind of yeah buts do you hear from people who are like, I don't want to start this thing?
Oh, yeah. So it boils down to three or four, actually, that I hear all the time. First is I'm afraid that my idea isn't good enough or original enough.
Mhm.
What if I get stuck or I'm wasting my time? How the heck do I even get this thing published? Because that is all overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Yes, and the Bartolucci is my last name, so we're going to get the hand gestures for your video people. And also, what if I get negative feedback? What if people don't like it? And it's really interesting that last one that we put ourselves in that place before we have even started of, oh no. And of course, it's our bodies and our brains trying to keep us safe because it's this big unknown thing that we're about to embark upon.
Right. Yeah, we definitely want to be kept safe. And I mean, it's evolutionary that there's safety in our pack. And if our pack doesn't
Mhm.
accept us, there's that part of us that believes we're going to get ostracized and then we won't be safe. So
Mhm.
it's a very real thing. And this imposter syndrome is also part of it. Like, who am I to do this big thing? And there's that I'm not good enough piece. Like,
Mhm.
and also my idea is not unique enough like that. I love you
Mhm.
brought that up. And honestly, if you've ever read some of the very old philosophers, every life coach is just plagiarizing these old it's not new. It is absolutely not new. So, it's so amazing that what really happens is you can hear the same message 1,000 times, but you hear it on the right day from the right person, and all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. And so that's the reason why we need to get our messages out, because it doesn't matter if someone's heard it 10,000 times before. That person doesn't need to hear it from you. But there's one person out there. I say that like when like as a public speaker, I wrote a fun little article called Shut Up, I'm on Next, How to Keep Your Inner Critic Backstage. So I wrote it for people who have to do public speaking. And just that notion of there might be people out there that have heard what you said 1,000 times, but there's someone, just one, you don't know who it is out there, that needs to hear your message today from you. And then their world has changed. And that's who you show up for. And that's who your book shows up for.
Exactly. Yes, like one of my books is Better Sleep for the Overachiever. And
What a great
yes,
title.
thank you. Yes, people typically will identify with that. And I bring that one to when I do sci-fi and fantasy conventions as my fiction author self, whose name is Cecilia Dominic, if you're interested. When I go with Cecilia, I bring Better Sleep for the Overachiever, and people will stop and be like, wait, what's that? And like, this is my sleep book as my sleep psychologist self. I will sell as many copies of that book as I do any of my fiction, including my Fae files, which people love their Fae. And it's really interesting. And of course, how many books on sleep are out there? And this is one of those good examples of story and how you connect. Well, one year I sold a copy of this book at Con Carolinas to a young woman. The next year she comes back, she's holding it, and she says, "Your book changed my life." Hello, peak author moment, right?
Right.
Yes, your book changed my life. I'm off Ambien. I'm sleeping 8 hours. My blood pressure is great. My doctor asked what happened. I told him I'm finally sleeping.
Mhm.
And yes, so I'm guessing she had probably read so many other books on sleep as well, but it was this one that made the difference. And yeah, people don't realize it's that one, your unique perspective, because yes, people have heard it 1,000 times, but it's our unique perspective, our history, our experiences, the way we say things. Those are the things that are getting the message through.
Right. And those are the reasons that will help you overcome your objections, is recognizing you are here on this planet to make a difference. That's why
Mm-hmm.
we're put here. And through self growth and discovery, you step fully in to who you were born to be. And writing your story is one way to be doing that. And only once you are stepping into who you were born to be can you make that difference that you are here to make in the world. So whatever the pathway is, whether it's writing your story or discovering your what's next, whatever it happens to be, you cannot be getting your gifts out into the world until you go through this self-discovery and love and accept and discover who you are. It's the most amazing journey that anyone can ever go on. So let's talk a little bit more about overcoming. So I'll share my little story about overcoming writing a book. So I knew as a new master coach at the time that it would help my business, that it would help my authority, right? To be seen as like, if you know what you're talking about and you write a book, then people recognize, oh, she knows what she's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. So I said, it's going to be a good business thing to write a book. And I said, it doesn't have to be long. You don't have to write like a giant tome of, like just something small. I think my book is like 130 pages. And I was in master coach training, like at the time in my classes. And I'm trained and certified by Dr. Martha Beck. And so we were on a call with Martha that morning, and she always would start out, anything interesting happened with anybody today? And I said, oh, yes. You know what happened to me is I was driving my son to school, who missed the bus and went to the school like a half hour away from our house. So I'm driving there, and on the way, he's like, oh, Mom, I forgot. I got to bring cupcakes in, like as all kids will do. So I'm like, oh, so we're going by like a little convenience store. I'm like, all right, we'll stop in here. As I get in the left-hand turn lane, there's a book in the left-hand turn lane, and it's open. And I have to straddle it, with my tires. And that's the first thing. But and what's interesting, I live in a suburb that doesn't have stuff on the road generally. So it's not stuff on the road. And so we go get the cupcakes. I drive them to school. On the way back, I'm driving down the highway, and there's all these papers fluttering around, like a ream of, and they're like sticking to people's windshields, like we're on the highway going 65 miles an hour. There's papers flying all over. They're flew into the side of the road. So then I tell the story, and she says to me, oh, honey, you're supposed to write a book. And I'm like, no, I'm not writing a book. I'm not writing a book. I like to talk. I'm not writing a book. Well, you're supposed to write a book, she says. So then like, it could have been that day or the day after. I had just come off a really cool, fun coaching call with somebody, and I got home and I was doing some dishes, and my garage was set back a little from the house, a double size garage, 2-car garage, and had big windows, like 4-foot by 4-foot windows, 2 of them that you could see through at the side into the garage. And the front garage door, the big garage door was open. And my son says, Mom, look. And there was a hawk, and it was standing on a table that was next to the window. And I was like, oh my God, there's a beautiful hawk in our garage. That's fantastic. Now this hawk spreads its wings, starts flapping, and bangs into the glass. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he, gets a little dazed, like cartoonish, he probably had his own little birds floating above his head in cartoon manner. And I'm like, oh no, how can we do now? We don't want to go in the garage. It's kind of dangerous, hawk talons, all that kind of stuff, especially if he feels cornered. So we're thinking about what could we do to get this hawk out of the garage? And so then he backs up and he moves and he flies to the other window, where it presumes is head to glass combat that he's got going on there. And I'm like out loud, as if he understands me. I'm like, dude, the giant 16-foot garage door is wide open. Turn your head and just go get out. That's the way you're supposed to be. So when that happened, life coach Linda thinks, metaphor alerts. Hello.
Yep.
And I learned from this. So I said, how and where am I banging my head against an invisible object between where I am and where I know I'm supposed to be? That hawk knew it's supposed to be up in the sky. It could see the sky. It could not fathom the invisible object, right? It was invisible. I can see it. Why can't I get there? So is that happening with me in my coaching practice? And the answer was yes. And I'm like, I know. I'm meant to soar. I'm a hell of a coach. So why can't I? What's wrong? And if I were to turn my head, where would the big giant opening be that I have been ignoring? And it was getting my message out, writing.
Mhm.
So I had to think about writing as teaching because I am a teacher at heart. I teach all my clients every single life coach skill I have. I will teach all my tools to them so they can take them with them. So I want to
Mhm.
teach. If I think of the book like teaching, then that's how I can soar. And that's how I overcame my obstacle. So it's my funny little story. Shit.
Oh, that's great. I know hawks, they look amazing. They're not very smart. Yeah, we had one trapped in a on a screened-in back porch one time in Birmingham, at my parents' house. Well, yes, and you bring up one of the ways, which is, yeah, find what about it excites you. So yes, you are a teacher, so teaching about it excited you. And so since we're talking about animals, my supervisor has arrived. For those of you who can't see, I have an absolutely gorgeous gray tabby cat. His name is Timothy Mouse. And it's also connecting to your values because that's what's going to keep us going. And that is the first step I go through with any of my writing mentees, which is, okay, let's define how this fits into your values. So we've talked about the external fulfillment, which might be the money and the expertise, et cetera, but let's talk about that internal fulfillment. What value is this going to honor for you? And that turns the internal talk from, oh no, I have to write today to, oh yeah, I get to honor my creativity today.
I love that. What you've done mindset wise is turn an I have to into I get to.
Exactly. And I have a client right now where this had never even occurred to me, but she had a couple of contract offers. And she was also talking to an agent who had some suggestions and requirements to her. And what did she do? She went back to her values to help her make this very difficult decision. And so I'm so excited that she has now signed a book contract. And
Woo!
so, yes. And so you can also go to your values when you're doing independent publishing as well, because, that's a whole other set of values that honors that publishing path, which brings in the, well, how do I handle this overwhelm? Well, let's get back to the basics.
Right. And get back into alignment with who you are and why you're doing it. Why
Mm-hmm.
are you telling your story? Why are you sharing your expertise through your book? When
Yep.
you remember your why, it helps you to keep moving forward. So because everyone gets stuck in the what and the how, but just
Mm-hmm.
stay connected to your why and you'll keep doing it. So
Yes.
yeah. Oh, this is so exciting. Okay. So basically in overcoming by being true to yourself and overcoming these obstacles, the yeah buts, things we talked about earlier, you can turn your little spark into a flame.
Mm-hmm.
So that will help you to get ready, but that flame fuels you. It's like, ooh, yes, I want to do this. I'm ready. So um, I know listeners are always like, it's like people who buy books to help, self-help books, then we read it. Well, oh my God, that was fantastic. We put it on the shelf and then it becomes shelf help. Podcasts are even more than that. They don't take very long to listen to. But I know that people who like to listen to podcasts want to learn more and they want to go on to another podcast and do, but I intend for this podcast, for Conversations Worth Your While, to actually be transformative and not just in the knowledge of the beautiful guests that I bring on, but also because I know as a coach and as a mentor that if you don't do something with what you've learned, and what you do can be internal, but if you don't do something with it, then it becomes that shelf-help thing. So I like to offer our listeners something really small they can do right now. So if they're like, yeah, I might want to write a book, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I might now I recognize what these obstacles are. I know there's people out there that can help me with these obstacles. I recognize the that while it's lofty, it's part of my purpose. I wouldn't have this spark to write a book if I wasn't meant to do it. And like Spider-Man's whatever said, with great power comes great responsibility. So we have this responsibility. So I like to leave the listeners with something very small that they can do right now, just even in their own mind before they hit play on the next Conversations Worth Your While podcast. So what would you say I could do?
So I would say we've got two levels here. So first is, yes, think about all of the books that you have on your topic on your bookshelf, because we write in the areas that we are excited about, that we're fascinated by, and think about, okay, so what is missing? What hasn't been said yet? What have you noticed? What is your unique contribution that you could bring to that? And then the second is, think about somebody coming up to you with your book in hand saying, oh my gosh, your book changed my life. And whenever you start going into that, but what if I get negative feedback? Think about that person whose life you've changed.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Those are very beautiful things. So, if I could change someone's life and my own by doing this, why would I say no?
Exactly.
And that's just to ponder that between podcasts. That's it. If I could change someone else's life and change my own for the better, why would I say no? Beautiful. Well, Anna, thank you so much for being such a beautiful guest on Conversations Worth Your While. I really appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Linda. I really enjoyed it.
And one more thing, if someone is saying, I might want to be ready, or they might want to get in touch with you, or, like, what do you have available for them?
Yes. Well, do you remember those quizzes in the women's magazines? I don't know if they still do them, but yes. Well, I have a quiz that is I call it the Cosmo style procrastination assessment. So to find out what kind of procrastinator are you? And so go ahead and sign up. We have the link in the show notes, and I will send you the quiz. And then also, of course, all of the information about what you might discover about yourself. And you will also then have my email address so that you can reach out to me. And if you are ready to move on to the next step, I do complimentary 30-minute idea clarification calls.
Oh, that's very beautiful, because a lot of people might say, I'm not clear enough to write a book yet. I don't know what I want to write about. So offering that as well is beautiful. And I love that you have a little quiz. I have a little quiz. It's called well, I've called it so many things, like the little quiz for going big. It's basically, where are you on the island of playing it safe? So maybe they go hand in hand, procrastinator, playing it safe. You can get out of both of those, get through both of those obstacles, pass those, get those behind you, and you can write the book that you are going to write. So
Exactly.
thank you so much. I will put your information in the show notes as well. And that is our show. And I'm Linda Bucher, guiding people to know their worth, to reconnect to their gifts, and to create lives that are fully aligned and deeply impactful. So if you're sensing it's time to bring your life into deeper alignment, you can explore what that looks like at lindabucher.com. You'll find a lot of direction and clarity there. And if today's episode sparks something for you, please share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Then join me next week for another expansive, uplifting conversation designed to support your growth. So until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.